analyzing the market for this week. I'll be going through a few currency pairs, indices, commodities. I haven't analyzed the markets this week, so this is basically going to be the first look of me looking through the markets, and basically I'm going to analyze everything as if I was going to trade each pair. So definitely stick around till the end, and definitely consider subscribing, liking, and sharing this video to people that are also in the trading industry, and hopefully we can help more people out there. So without further ado, let's get started. So this week, the first pair we're going to be starting with, or the first pairs we're going to be starting with this week, are the stocks. So as you guys know, stocks drive the indices that we trade, NASDAQ, US30. So we're basically just going to see what the stocks are doing, anticipate what they're going to do, and basically that's going to give us, kind of an idea of where the stock market is going to head this week and for the upcoming weeks. So the first pair we're looking at right now is Apple, and as you guys can see, let me just zoom out Apple for you guys. We're literally sitting on this level. So previously, a few weeks ago, we're literally coming to test this support zone that we had here, and literally this zone has held, and right now what we're seeing is the market is continuing to go up. So if we zoom in a bit more closer, let's go to the 4-hour time frame just to get a clearer picture of what's happening. As you guys can see, we're in this zone. We're anticipating if the market does go low, that is not going to look good for the markets at all overall, and the market couldn't get below its previous low. And literally we had the CPI event last week, and the market gapped up, and ever since it's been heading higher. So literally what we are seeing right now with the Apple stock, it is sitting at a resistance, a trend line resistance zone. If we can see Apple getting above this area, that's probably being an indication that the market is heading higher. It will probably come back to test this zone and then potentially look to head higher. But I think this is going to be, more or less of a short-term rally. I don't see the markets heading too high. I think right now they kind of overbought, and we need to still consider that we are still in a downtrend. Overall, we're still in a downtrend. So what I could see the market do is potentially come, maybe test this zone, which is, has some confluence. It touched several times. If I can pull out, so it touched here. This is kind of an area, this was an area, and then you have literally this area right here. So this is kind of like a confluence zone in that sense, and I believe the market could potentially push higher this week and come and test this area up here, and potentially maybe look to head lower from there. But overall, just looking at this market, I think Apple stock is going to be heading higher this week, and potentially coming to test this 155, probably 157 zone. So let's stick around and see what Apple has to give us, and that will give us an indication of what's happening this week. So let's move on to the next pair. So next we have Microsoft. This is a big play in the stock. So if we go to the daily time frame, just to get an overall picture of what the market is doing. Oops, let me remove those quickly. Okay. So as you guys can see, we are also in a downtrend overall in this market, and right now the market came to test this trend line support down here. It bounced and it headed higher, similar to what we see with the Apple stock. So if we go into the hourly time frame, as you can see, we left this massive gap here. So this was the CPI event. We left this massive gap. The market headed higher, and right now, if you look at this, we're kind of in this triangle zone. So what I'm anticipating is if the market can break above this zone, that is going to be a very nice bullish indication that the market is heading higher. So as you can see, we had this trend line. If I zoom this out, we have this trend line that came down. It tested this zone. It tested here, and then it broke above, and right now it tested above. It came to retest this zone. So what that means is the market basically, it pushed above its resistance, it's testing, it's coiling, and potentially what we're going to see is the market is going to push back higher. So what I anticipate Microsoft doing is definitely going to fill up this gap. So this green zone that I have marked out here, this green zone here, this is a gap. So this is a gap where the market left previously, and I think the market wants to fill that gap before it gives us an indication as to where it is going to go from there on. So definitely I think what we could do is we could definitely maybe put an alert on this trend line. So if this market does break above this trend line, we do know that stocks are probably heading higher, and it's basically going to mean that all the stocks are probably going to push for its next highs, and I think 250 is the zone we should be looking for in terms of Apple. So overall, bullish on Apple. So let's look at the next stock. The next stock we're looking at is Google. If I zoom on to the daily time frame, just to give you guys an idea of what is happening, as you can see, we're also in a downtrend, and if I maybe take this trend line, pull it down here, this is maybe going to be another zone that we're going to be looking for. So let me go to the 4-hour time frame, see what we're seeing here. Okay, so 4-hour time frame, maybe draw this line here. So as you guys can see, it's a similar thing to Google, to Microsoft. I mean, we have this massive gap up here, which the market wants to fill and needs to probably fill, because we literally just gap below and headed lower. Same with the CPI here, we have this gap down here. So the likelihood I see here is the market is probably going to do the same thing as Microsoft. Once it breaks above this channel, as you guys can see, it is in kind of a channel, and what we can anticipate, the market is probably going to sit in the zone, maybe come and test this previous support level here, and then head higher and try and fill this gap here. So I anticipate, you know, the same thing with Google. Is probably going to come and fill this 105, 103 area within the next few days, and then potentially we could see the market heading higher and coming to maybe fill in the gaps that it left below down here. So let's see what happens with Google, but this is my overall bias for this week. This is what I anticipate the market doing, maybe coming to test this resistance line that we have up here of this channel, and then we could potentially look for trades to the downside. But overall, I think we should be bullish this week on the Apple stock. So if we look at Amazon, let me go on to the daily time frame to give you guys the overall picture. So as you guys can see, previously we were at this resistance zone or support zone, which has now turned into resistance. We broke below that, we came back up to test that previous support, now resistance, and the market couldn't get above that resistance zone and headed lower. So if we go into maybe the hourly time frame, so I can zoom in and show you guys what I'm looking at. Let's do this. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have this gap up here. The market is probably going to want to come and fill this gap sooner or later. We have this gap down here. So what I'm anticipating right now, just looking at this, the Amazon stock looks a bit weaker compared to the other stocks that we looked at. But when I look at things, I see this little downtrend right here. Okay, there's that downtrend. You could say it's kind of it looks like a breakout pattern, a breakout triangle pattern to me. And what I anticipate is probably the market is going to probably push and maybe come and test the zone up here. I think it would be a safe bet to say maybe if the market gets above this 95 zone, that would be a nice indication that the market is heading higher and is probably going to potentially push to its previous highs up here. You see, so 1, 2, 3, we have 3 touches at this now resistance zone, and probably if it does break above that, it's going to come and fill in the gap here, and potentially come and maybe test this resistance trend line, and then from there we could potentially be looking to short the market. But overall, if we look at it on the hourly time frame, it doesn't look too good. It looks quite bearish still, but I think, you know, just looking at all of the stocks that we looked at so far, you know, the market might follow a similar pattern and potentially maybe come and test up here. But let's see what happens. Let's look at the next stock to give us an indication of what's happening. So we have the Meta stock, Facebook. So as you guys can see on the weekly time frame, we broke two all-time lows. So we came down to 91. The market didn't want to stay below that, and it seemed like we had a nice bounce to the upside. I think I sent this trade on. I actually, analyzed this trade on the previous video, where I said, if the market comes down to test the zone, we're potentially going to be looking for the bounce to the upside, and it played out perfectly. So let's look at it on the 4-hour time frame just to give you guys an indication. So what I'm seeing right now is we had this nice bounce to the upside, and it seems like for now in the short term we're going to be quite bullish. So what I'm seeing is if the market can get above this resistance zone, I'm basically putting an alert that once the market gets above this trend line, it's going to give us an indication that it's going to head higher. As you guys can see, we had this massive gap where the market left, and I'm assuming the market is probably going to do what the other stocks are going to do, try and fill this gap and then potentially head lower. But for now, I think it's probably going to head higher. We had a massive sell-off over the last few weeks, and I think maybe just a little breather to the upside would help meta stocks right now. But if the market does get below, let's say, this 108 zone, 108.3 zone, let's say 107 zone, then definitely I think things are going to be negative and the market could head lower. But overall, I think our bias is to the upside. If the market can get above 118, I think that's definitely a good indication that the stocks are heading higher, and it's probably going to come and retest the zone and fill up this gap. So let's see what happens with Meta. I'm going to keep a close eye on it. And the next stock we're looking at is Tesla. So when we look at Tesla, you guys can see that we're still in a downtrend overall, and the market is kind of at a critical support zone. So as you can see, we had this zone right here, we had this zone here, we had this zone here, we had this touch here. The market came and it's touching that area again. So this is a pretty strong level. This is a very strong level. The market couldn't get below here before, back in 2021. And if the market does get below, the next target is definitely 67. And if we can get below 67, things are not looking good, because the next probably zone is 129, 114 around there, which is a massive drop from where we are right now. So let's see what happens. Let's maybe zoom into the smaller time frames to give you an idea of what I'm seeing. So if we look at this, let's see if we can get a trend line out of this pattern. But okay, this is the trend we're looking at. If the market can get above this this trend line, I think things are going to look bullish. But overall, the Tesla stock is looking a bit weaker compared to the other stocks. If we look at it, you can see, we had this bounce, and it seems like the market wants to maybe give us a bounce to the upside. This could potentially be a nicer trade, because, if you don't want to risk too much on a trade, you could potentially go for this Tesla stock. It's quite risky because you can see, the market is not really giving us too much. Let me add the colors to this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. So this is what I'm seeing with the Tesla stock. You could potentially get into this trade when the market opens, potentially look for the upside, the next high up here at 200, and you potentially have a tight stop at maybe 94, which I think is probably going to be a nice trade that will play out. So overall, bullish on Tesla short term. Once we get to this zone here, I think potentially maybe we relook at the structure of the market and how all the other pairs are looking as well, and then potentially give us indication as whether it wants to maybe continue going to the upside and maybe coming to test this zone up here. But overall, I think Tesla could push up to the upside this week and give us some gains. And yeah, let's see what happens with Tesla this week. But overall, I think we're definitely going to be bullish on Tesla this week. So the next pair we are looking at is the VIX. So basically the VIX is going to give us an overall bias as to what we're looking for in terms of buying or selling. So if the VIX is really high, you know, we're looking to short this thing. If it's down low, we're looking to buy this thing. And right now we're kind of in the middle, I would say. So if we come into the 1 hour time frame, as you can see, we had this downtrend and we kind of consolidated in this box. Let me maybe kind of in this box here, maybe, you know, making it just a bit like that. So as you can see, we're kind of in this range right here, and you know, we haven't been really going anywhere ever since. So I think if the market can potentially get above maybe this trend line here, I think that's going to be a good indication that the market is probably going to sell off. But overall, I think what could happen with the VIX is it could push higher, maybe come test this and then head lower. And that is going to be a good indication that maybe this would be the point where we potentially look to buy the market, you know. So we're going to potentially look to buy the market around this zone. So what I'll do is I'll add an alert around this area. Okay, let me add an alert around the zone. So if the market does come above here, we could potentially be looking for positions to potentially maybe get in on the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and try and maybe short it to the downside. I mean, purchase it to the upside, because if the VIX goes down, the market goes up. If the VIX goes up, the market goes down. So overall, I think let's see what happens. Maybe if we can get a retest above the zone, and you guys can see as well, this zone, you know, it has a bit of confluence. You can see this zone, you know, played around this zone. Let's see if what else we can pull out of it. You know, it seems like a strong zone. So I think if the market does come to this area, let's potentially look to short it. But my overall bias is if we could get down to this level, if we could get down here, that would be a nice thing, because then we'll be potentially looking to short the market around here. So I think this is going to be the bigger trade, but for now, short term, I think let's wait for the VIX to get up here, give us indication that the market is heading higher, and then get into those buy trades. So let's move on to the next pair. So we have the SPY, so the S&P 500 real market. So the market hasn't opened yet. The markets are still closed. But if we look at it on a daily time frame, as you guys can see, let me zoom in. Okay. So we kind of, you know, we're heading lower. We had this consolidation. The market broke above this trend line. It headed high. It retested its previous resistance, turned into support, and then it headed higher. So if I see things correctly, maybe go on to the hourly time frame. What I'm seeing is we have this gap down here, right, which occurred on CPI last week, which the market is probably going to want to fill sometime sooner or later. But I think the bigger gap that we're going to be looking at right now is the gap up here at 400, 403, 409. I think that is the zone we're looking at, because you can see we had a previous gap here, and this was from the previous CPI in September. So I think the market is definitely gonna try and maybe, let me draw a trend line. Oops. So what I think the market is gonna do, it's potentially gonna try and maybe get above this zone, and then once it gets above that zone, we're gonna be looking to close this gap to the upside. And why I think this is a nice trade is because if you look at it from the 4-hour time frame, you can see, you know, this is the structure. The market wants to come down up here, and when we get up here, this could be the point where we look to potentially short the market to the downside. So this would be the point where we potentially look to short the market to the downside, because we are at a, you know, a strong resistance zone where the market couldn't get above. So I think this would be the trade that most traders are looking for right now. You know, the market to come get to this 410 zone on the S&P 500 real market. So overall, I think this week we should be looking for buy setups on all of the stocks from what I'm seeing on the S&P 500. So let's look at the S&P 500 index. So this is the futures market, which will give us, you know, a real-time indication of what's happening. So if we look at the S&P 500, you can see downtrend. We have a similar pattern, and it seems like if we go into the 4-hour time frame, we are seeing the same thing. So let me remove. So I want you guys to pay attention to this. So we had this high here, we had this high here, and the market literally made a high here, and it came and it retested that zone. So what does that mean? The market could potentially come, maybe test this area here, okay, and then head higher. So if we go on to the 30-minute time frame, onto the 30-minute time frame, give you guys more of a clearer picture of what's happening and what I'm seeing. Okay. So I'll maybe draw this trend line in here. Okay. So this is our new trend line here. Okay. If the market can get above this zone, okay, above this trend line, I think that is going to be a good indication for us to potentially look to purchase this market. But overall, if the market comes lower to maybe this area down here, let's say around the zone, I think that is going to be the chance where we look to potentially buy this market to the upside and maybe just give it space to breathe in terms of a stop loss. You know, so I think, and it kind of, you know, it works out with this lower trend line down here as well. So it could even push even lower, maybe try and get some short sellers back into the market and then push higher and get those traders out. You know, so I think this is the trade we're looking for. We're looking for maybe a buy setup on the S&P 500, and right now it's just kind of, you know, it's not looking too great. So I think if we can get more lows, let it push a bit lower, I think we're going to be looking to potentially buy into this market. So if you don't want to miss some of the trades that we take, we have a signals group down in the description, so definitely consider subscribing to our Telegram group chat. You know, I send signals a few times a week on the free group chat. If you want to join our paid signals, definitely also maybe hit me up, where, you know, I share all of the trades that I take. So without further ado, let's potentially look at the next trade. So the DJI. So this is the US30 real market. So the Dow looks a bit stronger compared to all of the other markets, and it seems very bullish. It seems like it wants to go and create new highs because, you know, we had this trend line that was down here, right? So I want you guys to see we had this high here. The market came to test it here, came to test it here, and it came to test it here, right? And right now, the market broke above this line, it came to retest it, and it seems like it's heading higher. So what we can see on the DJI, if we zoom in, remove that, maybe get a trend line in here to see if it works. Okay, so the market is kind of at its, okay, then we have this. So I would say if the DJI gets below this zone, it's probably going to head lower, maybe look to gain, you know, more buyers down here, and then potentially look higher. So the possibility is the market could come maybe down here and then look to go higher, or it could literally just break out from this zone and then, you know, potentially look to go higher from there. So overall, I think, you know, to play safe, let's say this would be the zone 3400, 300. That would be the zone we're looking for just short term, because it seems like, yeah, the market wants to come and maybe test these levels here, you know, its previous highs, and, you know, it's giving us literally the indication that it's strong because it broke above. Let me just close that. And it broke above the zone, and I maybe draw it for you guys. So we had this CPI news, the market broke above, and right now it's kind of coiling. So when the market coils like this, you could potentially look for a big move and then, you know, something like that. So that's what I'm anticipating to happen with the DJI. I see definitely heading higher. So this is the US30 futures market. So let's go to the daily time frame. So excuse this, guys, it's a bit messy on this chart right now, but this is kind of, you know, the setups that I'm looking at right now. So what I really like about this pattern here on the US30 is that it's consolidating right here. It's consolidating perfectly, and what's going to happen next? There's only two things that's going to happen. So either the market is going to break down this zone and maybe head lower, or it's going to break above the zone and head higher. Okay, oops. It's going to break above this trend line and head higher. Okay, so overall, my bias is, since the market has broken above this blue line. So this blue line of mine is kind of an important level. If I maybe reverse back, you guys can see this was the previous, I would say previous high, and this is the next high we're looking at here. So let me maybe put this here. Okay. So you can see, guys, overall, you're kind of just consolidating in the zone. There's really no action. There's literally if you're trading in the zone, what you're looking for is to sell up here and buy up here, So right now, we're kind of in the middle. So what I'll probably do is wait to see what the market does when the market opens. Potentially, maybe it could head lower, and then, it could jump to the upside. And that's probably going to be a nice trade that we look for. So I had this zone in here. So maybe if we potentially have a trade set up like this, maybe have a tight stop 200 pips. Let's maybe push to get potentially 1,000 pip reward, So it's literally a 1 to 4 trade. If you want to potentially maybe get it below this lows, just in case the market tries to stomp out the weak hands, this would potentially be the trade we're looking for in terms of the US30. So let's wait and see. Things are quite choppy in this area. It's not giving us too much, but overall, this is what I'm seeing with the market, and yeah, let's see what happens. So the next pair we're looking at is the QQQ. So this is basically Nasdaq's real market. So overall, if you go to the daily time frame, you can see downtrend. If you go onto the 4-hour time frame, just to see what intraday trades are. So I think this trend line I drew here is it's kind of at a critical point, because we had this high here, we had this high here, we had this zone here where the market kind of respected the market, we had this zone here, and then right now we're having this area here. So I think, if the market does break above this zone, it's going to be significant, and it's definitely going to push higher. It's going to push the market definitely to explode to the upside. So if we go on to the 30-minute time frame, just to zoom in and get a better picture of things. Okay, so you guys can see we have this trend line dissecting the market right here. We had the spike up, the market came down. It couldn't really get above that zone, but the way I'm seeing things is once the market can get above this area, it's definitely heading higher. So I think if you could put an alert at 288, once the market maybe gets above that zone, I think that's going to be a good indication that it's heading higher. So let's wait and see what happens with the QQQ. But overall, I'm quite bullish on this market right now, because as you guys can see as well, we have this support zone. Okay, we have this support zone here. So the market is literally sitting on the support zone. So the one thing I see is right now we're just consolidating, and it's going to potentially push higher. So that's what I'm seeing overall in terms of Nasdaq. So let's wait and see what happens. But overall, we are bullish. So definitely consider joining that signals group, guys, if you guys want to get free signals on the trades I take. So this is the Nasdaq futures market. So this is what's happening right now, and things look things look nice. I think, you know, we can potentially get a nice trade here. So if I zoom on to the 4-hour time frame, okay, so we had this resistance zone here, which turned into a support, which now is kind of in the middle of that support zone. So I think the market right now wants to kind of gain some, get some buyers in, and it's potentially going to shoot to the upside. So let's go to the 1-hour time frame, and if I draw this trend line here, okay, or I could even just use this line here, okay. So if the market does get above this zone, I'm going to put an alert that we should look out for. But overall, you guys can see these are the lows that we're looking for right now in terms of NASDAQ. So if the market does come to these areas, I think this is going to be the zone where we potentially look to purchase this market to the upside. And the potential reward is almost 500 pips to the upside. Maybe have a decent stop loss, maybe 150 pips, 100 pips. It's up to you. I'll send the trades, you know, to the group chat, and you guys can determine your risk management from there on your account. But I think this is the trade you're going to be looking for in terms of the NASDAQ. I think it's definitely heading higher, and yeah, I think let's wait and see what happens. So I'm going to move this alert to more or less around here. Okay. So NASDAQ, yeah, looks like it's definitely heading high, because you can see it's kind of just testing this zone, and I think it's going to explode. And this trade could be potentially, you know, not even just a 500 pip trade, but it could potentially even be 1,000 pip, you know, 1,000 pip plus trade. So just to be conservative, 500 pips is what we're looking at. And yeah, let's wait and see what NASDAQ does. So let's move on to the next pair. So we're looking at the German 30 right now, and the German 30 had a nice bounce. Okay, so if I zoom onto the 8-hour just to see what's happening. So I haven't analyzed the market, this market since last week. So what I'm seeing as well is similar to the other pairs. So I think what is going to happen here with the German 30 is we're going to potentially see the market maybe come down to these previous lows, maybe not even, it could potentially even be a higher low. So what we could see the market do is potentially maybe come down to this area, grab some liquidity, and then head higher. Okay, so we're going to have this area here. So we're kind of in a box, right? So we're in this box, the market is literally just, you know, so we're waiting for something, and I think the overall bias is to the upside. So I think overall trade we should be looking for is maybe have a trade set up like this, something like this. Okay, maybe have a decent stop, maybe a stop 200 pips for 700 pips. It's a 3-to-1 trade. Look guys, this is a good trade. So I think let's stick around and see what happens, because right now I think it's kind of overbought in this part, and I think maybe if we can head a bit lower, grab some liquidity, grab some buyers, we're definitely heading high with the German 30. So on to the next pair, Bitcoin. Ooh, Bitcoin is not looking good. It's not looking good. So let's go on to the daily time frame. Let's go on to the daily time frame and see what's happening. Overall picture. It's not looking fine, man. It's not make sure. So we had this previous support here, or let me say resistance zone. Now that was 20,000. The market literally broke below that 20,000 mark, and then we had this 18,000 mark, which was kind of like our, you know, if the market gets below this 18,000 mark, it's definitely heading lower. And if we go into the 30-minute time frame, guys, Bitcoin, jeez, if I zoom out, you know, so this was the kind of the pattern that I had, you know, for Bitcoin, and I think it's still valid. This trade is still very much valid. So this is what I'm seeing with Bitcoin. We're kind of in this triangle. If the market can keep heading lower, if we can take out this next low here at 15.8, it's not fine for Bitcoin. And I think FTX has to play with this. The collapse of FTX is definitely going to drive the market lower, because we're looking at plus 30, 50 billion rands, $50 billion worth of, capital has been lost in the markets. So I don't know what's, the effect of so many people losing their Bitcoin and their cryptocurrencies will mean to um, Bitcoin, but I think the market didn't take what happened with FTX really well, and I think right now it's just a waiting game. So if you want to get into this trade right now, you could potentially get into this trade, but then you're going to have like a tight, a really big stop, because I think the market could, come back up and just try and maybe scare some people out of the market or get people to believe the market is going to head higher again and then head lower. So, but overall, since we've broken below this trend line here, okay, which was a triangle trend line, which means a big break is happening. Um, I think, yeah, overall 13,000, 13,000, 14,000 is the next stop, guys, for Bitcoin. So, yeah, not looking good for Bitcoin at all. So let's look at gold. So when we look at gold on a daily time frame, gold has been treating us really good over the last few weeks. We got in here, we bought here, we rode it to the upside, we bought again, we rode it to the upside. So if you guys want to miss some of our signals, definitely join that group chat in the link. So right now what I'm seeing with gold, we have this now support zone here. And with all of the inflation that's happening in the United States and around the world, I think this is going to be the perfect point for gold to maybe get more buyers into the market. I do understand a lot of institutional buyers are getting into gold. It's a safer place to put your money over stocks. And what I see happening is gold is definitely going to push lower here. Maybe scare a few people, think it's maybe going to head lower and then head to the upside. So I think we are definitely 100% bullish on gold, and I think this is the setup we're going to be looking for in terms of gold. Is we potentially see it pushing to the upside, maybe have a big kind of like a big stop. So let's see what happens when gold gets to this zone. So I'm going to add an alert here somewhere around the zone. If the market gets into this triangle, this rectangle section we have here, then we're definitely going to be alerted. So overall, gold, this is what I'm seeing, guys. The market is going to push lower and then potentially push the upside. You guys can see, we had this triple bottom down here, and now we're testing the previous highs, and I think the previous lows. And I think right from there on, gold is probably going to even look to go to all-time highs. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing with gold right now. It was at really a low point, and I think this is just going to be a bounce for it to literally go to the moon. So overall, we're bullish on gold, but this is the setup that we're looking for short term. So if you guys want to miss on this trade, I'm probably going to send it onto the group chat. So definitely consider joining the group chat. So the next pair we're looking at is oil. I haven't been trading oil too often lately, but let's zoom in and see what's happening. So as you guys can see, we're kind of in this zone. We had this trend line heading lower. The market broke above it, tested that trend line, it headed higher, and then it couldn't get above its previous high, and it headed lower. So the way I'm seeing things is, I'm seeing kind of like a harmonic pattern right here. So what I'm seeing is this, that, and the market could potentially maybe come here or even come down to this trend line here, and then from there we could potentially be looking for a trade to the upside on oil. So we could potentially be looking for oil to maybe head higher when it gets around the zone. So let's see what happens, because as you can see, it respected this point once, twice, 3 times, and probably the 4th time will be the charm. So let's see what happens with oil. But overall, I think there's really no edge right now. Let's wait for it to kind of be oversold. Maybe it's going to be around the zone, and then we'll potentially be looking for the trade to the upside, guys, on oil. Looks like a nice trade, and yeah, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. So let me add an alert around the zone so I don't miss out on this trade. And guys, that's why I would highly advise everyone that is a trader to get TradingView and to get the paid version, because you can place alerts, you'll never miss out on trades, you can rewind, you can back test strategies. There's so much, TradingView is so amazing, and I just wish, you could add, any broker you wanted to basically trade off of it, you know. So as well, if you guys are interested to find out which broker I do use, the link is in the description as well. I use an incredible broker. I use one that is really good for beginners and pros. You can literally start trading from a 0.01, standard. Um, you can literally also get raw accounts. You can get pro accounts, and then I also have more of the aggressive trading platforms that I also recommend down there. Those are CFDs where basically 0.01 is a one lot. So if you guys are looking for a good broker, definitely check out the link in the description. But yeah, so this is what we're seeing with oil, guys. And then we also have this trend line here. So let me also add an alert maybe to that trend line in case the market doesn't get down here. So on to the next pair, we have the DXY. Ooh, we've been waiting for this bounce for a long time. Okay. Guys, the DXY is looking good. It's looking good, and I think it's going to mean good stuff for the USD pair. So we're anticipating it's going to probably come and touch the zone, and that's where we're going to get into for the buys. So, but which I think the market didn't want to do that, because I think a lot of people had maybe alerts around that area, maybe buy orders. So the market literally just turned before that zone, and we were anticipating that it would maybe come down here, touch it, and then we would get in. So we've missed out on that trade, but it's not the end of things. If we go on to the 4-hour time frame, you can see we're kind of consolidating in this zone. The market has broken above its previous highs, and now it's probably going to head higher. So what we're going to be looking for is maybe like a retest. Maybe the market maybe come a bit lower and then potentially push higher. So overall, I think in terms of the DXY, I think it's heading higher. It's probably going to take out its previous highs. I think overall, yeah, I think it's probably going to come and maybe definitely get to this previous trend line that we have down here. And if it does get above that, look, we're definitely shooting to the moon and higher. So DXY, I'm bullish. So that means on USD pairs this week, I'm going to be bullish. So, oh, jeez. So this is the USDJPY. Fuck, I don't know how I missed this trade. Excuse my language, guys. But wow. So basically we're anticipating for this to happen. As you can see, I had this arrow here. So what I'm going to be doing now is basically I'm going to be waiting for maybe a back test for the market to maybe come back a bit lower to allow us to get into this trade. But overall, USDJPY, I think it's heading higher, and it could potentially even take out its previous highs. But overall, short-term trade for this week, I think let's aim to maybe get this previous support level that is now resistance. So I think 145 is the target for the USDJPY. It's really not too complicated. That support we bounced off. The momentum to the upside looks strong, and I think USDJPY we are buying. So if we look at the next pair, Euro USD, this trade played out just perfectly. I don't know why I didn't have an alert here, but fudge. So what we're anticipating is the market was around this zone when I did my last video. Anticipating the market would come up here, maybe get into this area, and then short and head lower. So it seems like it's playing out. The market came and it touched this previous, let me say, it's kind of like a support resistance level. It's one of my zones that I have, and it seems like it's heading lower. So I think overall, Euro USD is heading lower, and I think it's probably going to be looking to get to $1, potentially even get lower. So overall, if with the Euro USD, with the USD becoming strong, I think this is the trade we're going to be looking for in terms of the Euro USD. So maybe if we can get some sort of like a retest, the market maybe come back and give us an opportunity to get into this trade. I think we're going to hop onto it. But if you do want to get into this trade, maybe just have a big stop loss. Maybe put it above the highs so that if the market does come back up, you don't get stomped up. But let's look at it on the 30-minute time frame to see if there's maybe something that we're missing out. But overall, I think the pattern is playing out as we anticipated last week. So look, we've broken below this trend here, and the market is heading high. So if we can see maybe a little bounce to the upside, something like this, maybe come and maybe test these levels around here, let's say, you know what I'm saying, and then potentially head lower. I think that is going to be a nice trade, and it's going to pay. It's definitely going to pay. So let me put an alert here. Euro USD, I'm keeping an eye out on this trade because looks nice. So let me move this around here. But yeah, I think this is overall going to be a juicy trade that we should consider. So that was the Euro USD. Let's check out the next pair. So USDCAD, and similar thing to USDJPY. The market bounced where we anticipated it. So this was the previous, let me say, support zone, and the market came perfectly and bounced at that zone. I had this trend line drawn here. If the market gets above that, it should probably retest this trend line and head higher, and it seems like it's doing that perfectly. It seems like the bust has left us here, but it doesn't mean it's too late. So overall, if we can maybe get a retest back down to this zone, that would be a nice trade. But overall, I think the market is potentially going to look to create new highs, maybe have a stop loss at the previous low. But I think same with all the other USD pairs. USDCAD is heading higher, and I wish we should have got into this trade when it broke above here. But look, we don't get them all, and I do my best to try and get them all. But yeah, this is what's happening with the USDCAD. So on to the next pair, we have the USDZAR, and similar thing to USDZAR, USDCAD, USDJPY. It's kind of at this critical turning point. Most people anticipate that the ZAR is going to probably get stronger and head lower, but so what happens? We've broken this trend line. Okay, so this was a bullish trend line, and it seems like the market has broken it and it's retesting it now. So maybe adjust it like this so you guys have a clearer idea. Okay, let me zoom in onto the hourly time frame. Okay, so at this point we're kind of looking at, okay, let me redo that. Okay, so what we're looking for here is that the market is kind of just consolidating in the zone, right? We're just kind of in this, the market came and we're just like zigzagging in the zone, Okay, so right now it seems like the market is heading higher, but I think with the USDZAR right now, I think the USDJPY, USDCAD presents better opportunities, because I think the time to have gotten into this trade was maybe down here, got into this trade and potentially maybe got in like when the market broke here. Okay, so that's kind of where you should have gotten into the trade, and I think we're definitely going to maybe push higher, see the ZAR maybe potentially weaken, with a stronger dollar. So let's see what happens. But overall, I think we should be bullish on the USDZAR, but I think the better opportunity is with the other USD pairs. But yeah, let's see what happens, and I think this trade could very likely play out. Just have a proper stop loss, risk management, and you'll definitely make money. So the USDCHF, okay, so it broke above this trend line. So let me give you guys an overall picture of what I'm seeing with the USDCHF. So you guys can see this was the resistance, this was the support, the market broke above. It came back to test this support zone that it has here, and it seems like it's heading higher. So overall, I think bullish. We're looking to get onto this thing to the upside. Let's maybe not be too greedy. Maybe look for its highs where there was a lot of confluence, where the market turned. Okay, somewhere around here, or maybe even around this zone here. Okay, but overall, I think this is going to be the trade you look for on the USD CHF to the upside. So let's see what else we have. Nothing else. So those are all of the charts that I had analyzed for this week, guys, or prepared for you guys, prepared to analyze for you guys this week. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you like the way I analyze, maybe want to learn from me, receive signals, we do, I do group sessions, Zoom sessions where I can basically answer you guys' questions, but this is for paid members only. So if you guys want to be a part of my team, learn how I analyze the markets, definitely consider subscribing to our Telegram group chat and being a part of our team, and hopefully we can all make money. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video and making it this far. Without further ado, I'll see you guys on the next one, and keep blessed, and see you guys at the top.